one of the most inexpensive survival and preparedness pieces of gear that I believe everyone should have with them is a whistle. So I have a little Altoids at a stoplight here. So I have a little Altoids tin, and one of the things that I've done is, with all the little real estate that I have here, I've taken up some of that real estate with a survival whistle, or just a whistle, right? I guess it makes it a survival whistle when you actually are in a survival situation. But anyway, I want to use a piece of pop culture to kind of talk a little bit about this. Maybe it's a reference that everyone remembers. I'm sorry to do this to you, but remember the movie The Titanic, right? I know it was a popular movie. A lot of people went to go see it. I saw it one time with my wife because she wanted to go see it because of everybody talking about it. At the very end of the movie, Rose is, the Titanic has sunk, and Rose is on this wooden board, and the rescuers are around, and they are looking for survivors, and they're calling out. They spend some time there, and no one answers. There's no one there. There's no one moving. I mean, of course, the water. I mean, everyone's frozen to death, and she tries to yell for help, but she just can't. She's so cold, she can't yell for help. She's trying, they can't hear her. And so she sees a guy, I guess someone who was on the boat, who is frozen in the water with a whistle in his mouth, right? He's frozen that way. She jumps off of the wooden board and swims over to this guy and starts blowing it. And because of that whistle, the rescuers turn around, and of course she's saved, right? I mean, that's the whole story and everything. And I think, if it wouldn't have been for that whistle, and I know it's a fictional story, but it's a great illustration of how important it is to have something like that, have a whistle. I mean, you could be in a situation where you're trying to get people's attention, and maybe you're in a building that has collapsed, you're in the woods, and you can't find your way out, and you could scream and shout over and over again, help, I need help. And eventually you're going to wear yourself out. That uses a whole lot of energy. But if you have a whistle, now blowing into a whistle is going to use up energy as well, but not as much, and it gets a whole lot louder. It's very distinctive, depending on which whistle you use, and it can get people's attention. So I believe everyone should have a whistle. In their everyday carry, in their bug out bags, in their just, if you're a woman, I mean, my wife has one on her key ring. It's just really easy to just kind of carry around. They're not heavy, and they don't take up a lot of, like I said, real estate. So there's a couple of different ways to use a whistle, a couple of different signals that you can use. Of course, you could just blow in it like your gym teacher did, but there's a couple of different things. So like 3 small bursts is usually identified as as the international sign of distress. So if you do it that way, that people would get attention. You could use it like Rose did in the Titanic, and just blow to help people to identify that you're there, and then also long blast could help find a location, could help people pinpoint where you are. There's also SOS. So 3 short blasts, then 3 long blasts, then 3 short blasts is SOS. And those that know Morse code, those that know the SOS signal would be able to identify that, And so I think it's just smart to have them. There's a bunch of different type of whistles on the market, and I'm bouncing off of an article that I recently wrote, and in that article I linked to some different ones that claim to be like whistles that can hurricane type whistles or whatever the name that they're called. Some are survival whistles, whatever, and they're different prices. They're not very expensive, but they're different prices. However, you can buy the real basic whistle, again, the one that your gym teacher used, and these are like $2-3, and you could buy a bunch of them, like on Amazon. You can buy a bunch of them and just share them out, have them in different places, give them to different family members, and things like that. One of the things I would recommend is going somewhere, whether it's in your home, whether you go out to a park or maybe a secluded area or whatever. Maybe not a secluded area because people would maybe think you needed some help or whatever. But go and practice blowing into it. Sometimes you can blow into a whistle and you can blow really hard, thinking that the harder you blow, the more or the louder the whistle is going to be, and that's not actually true. You want to make sure that you have that optimal amount of breath going through and the loudness. So you want to practice just a little bit. You don't want to use, you don't want to be, in an emergency situation and that being the first time that you've ever blown into your whistle and you don't have the, that experience. One of the whistles that I would not get are the whistles that, first of all, there's some things that you can buy out there, and I've purchased them, and I've been given some for reviews and different things like that, where they have a little whistle, like survival whistle, that comes with it. You don't want to use those, or you don't want to depend on those. Those are just like an added little piece of plastic that that they can add to it and say, hey, 5 pieces of survival, whatever. You don't want to count on those. The other thing is, the other ones that you don't want to count on is or are those whistles that are like 5-in-1 survival, right? And you see those all over the place, but it'll have it's a whistle, it's a compass, it has a little compartment in there for you to do fire, or I'm sorry, have fire stuff in there, whatever, tinder, and then matches. Don't bother with those. Just get something that's dedicated to being a whistle. One of the whistles that I linked to is like a very small profile, and that's for like hikers who don't want a lot of weight. They can get those. But I mean, again, I'm going to go back to those whistles, the metal whistles that your gym teachers used to use. In the article that I'm going to link to in the description, you can go check that out. I do have a link to a video that you can make your own, how you can make your own survival whistle with a soda can and some scissors. Or if you're out in the wild and you stumble upon some aluminum can, soda can, and you have your knife, you can go ahead and make it, and it's really cool. It's not hard to make. You just need to be able to cut out a portion of the soda can and use it that way. But anyway, I highly recommend that you have a whistle with you and in different places. Put them in your backpacks, put them in your bug out bags, put them wherever you might need to have a survival whistle. Is just a smart piece of gear to have, and they're very inexpensive, and so you can have multiple ones. All right, guys, that's it for this one. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this episode. Don't forget to check out the links in the description, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.